You finished everything on the list. Nothing went wrong. But the moment you sit down, the guilt arrives. You should be doing more. People call that laziness. It may be the exact opposite. Many millennials kept their side of an old deal. The deal is what changed, and the exhaustion underneath isn't a character flaw. It's what happens when you keep paying into a system that quietly stopped paying back. Start with the promise because it was a real one. If you grew up millennial, born roughly between 1981 and 1996, you were handed a simple equation. Work hard, get the degree, follow the steps, and a stable life follows. A job, a home, a sense of arrival. It wasn't a fantasy. It was the standard script repeated by parents, teachers, every adult in the room. So many did exactly that. They studied. Many took on the debt. They showed up. And then, for a lot of them, the math stopped adding up. For many who entered the workforce around the Great Recession, pay moved slowly while rent, tuition, and home prices climbed faster. The effort stayed real. The reward got less reliable, but here's the part that does the quiet damage. When effort and reward come apart, the mind rarely blames the system. It blames the self. It doesn't conclude the deal changed. It concludes something heavier. I must not be doing enough. And once that belief takes hold, it has somewhere to grow. The World Health Organization defines burnout specifically as an occupational phenomenon caused by chronic workplace stress that was never successfully managed. It doesn't explain every kind of exhaustion. But its pattern, deep fatigue, a growing distance from what you do, and a sense that nothing you produce is ever enough, helps explain how a person can keep functioning while feeling more and more absent from their own life. Notice what that actually means. Burnout isn't the state of someone doing too little. It's the state of someone who has been over-functioning for far too long, with no real recovery. Here is the part that rarely gets said, and it's the quiet engine under all of it. Somewhere along the way, productivity stopped being something you do and became the way you measure whether you are allowed to feel okay. So the mind quietly fuses two very different things. I have worth, and I produce something today. And once those become the same sentence, rest stops feeling neutral. A day of doing nothing doesn't register as recovery. It registers as a day of being worth less. That is why the guilt shows up the instant you sit down. It isn't laziness whispering, it's a faulty equation running exactly on schedule. You can catch that equation in the strangest place. You can run a complicated project at work, but the small personal errand, the form, the phone call, the package to mail, sits untouched for weeks. The writer Anne Helen Peterson called this errand paralysis. The tasks that don't visibly count slowly become invisible, then impossible because some part of you has decided they don't earn anything. And the world all of this happens in only tightens the screw. Many millennials are a kind of bridge, an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. They watched the always-on world get built, then stepped straight into it. Now the job follows you home in your pocket. The highlight reels of everyone you have ever met scroll past while you try to unwind, quietly insisting you are behind. There is no clear edge anymore where work ends and life begins. For a mind already taught that its worth is its output, a world with no off switch isn't freedom. It's a shift that never clocks out. And the cost stays quiet, which is exactly why it's so easy to miss. It looks like irritability you can't quite explain, like dreading small messages, like being there for the people you love but feeling strangely empty. From the outside, slowing down can read as not caring. Inside, it is the opposite. It's someone who has cared hard for a long time, with little arrival, and the tank is simply low. Not broken, low. So what helps isn't another productivity hack. That's just more of the same medicine that made you sick. The real shift is smaller and harder. It's learning to separate your worth from your output on purpose before you feel you have earned it. So here is one honest thing to try this week. Pick 1 hour and do something with no purpose at all. Not to recharge so you can produce more later, just because you are allowed to. Then watch the guilt that arrives. That guilt isn't proof that you are lazy. It's proof of how deeply you were taught that rest has to be earned. And the moment you can see that rule clearly and name it for what it is, you stop being quietly run by it. Because you were never the problem. You did your part inside a deal that changed and learned to measure your worth in a currency that slowly stopped paying out. The work can stay. The belief that you always have to keep proving you are enough, that's the part that is finally allowed to rest. If this felt like you, comment one word for what rest feels like to you, peace or guilt. And if you want more of these, subscribe to MindSpace.